Hey, everybody. We are live on everywhere, I guess. We're on Facebook and we're on YouTube. So that's cool. Let's see. We got Zach. Let's bring Zach in here. Hold on 1 second. Hey, Zach. Here we go. Dropping in the stream right now. Hey, look at Zach Bassett with the slicked haircut. Look at that. Can you hear me, buddy?
Yes.
Oh, I can hear you too. That's great. I'm gonna just check real quick. I got my iPad just to be sure that we are live. I would hate to think we're doing all this and no one's watching, because according to the little ticker in the corner, no one's watching. So let's just make sure that we are live on the places we're supposed to be. How are you doing today, buddy?
Pretty good.
How's the weather? You're in Texas. How is it cold in Texas? It's cold here in Florida.
They're telling us we might get snow for the first time in like 5 years. So
oh my gosh.
That'd be nice.
Wow, we don't get snow here in Florida, man. Yeah, we're live. I just checked. Looks like we're looking good on. Oh, let me be sure we are. Only me. No, we have to share this with everybody. According to this, the privacy says only I can see it. So let's make it public. Done. There we go. So that's good for Facebook. Let me check YouTube. The so snow and so what is it? Cold there now? I mean, what's it like?
I think it's in the 30s right now.
I think, aren't we kind of parallel to each other though, or am I still further south than you on the in the map of the U.S.?
Yeah, I suppose there's a gulf in between us, but we're about the same.
Yeah. So, you're kind of Central Texas. I don't even know.
Yeah,
Texas. Yeah. I just found out I have friends in Georgia that live in Dracula, Georgia. That's a place.
I didn't know. I went to school there, but I didn't know about that place.
That's right. You went to okay. It looks like we are live on YouTube too. So everything's turn that off. Okay, so everything's good. We're live everywhere. So hopefully people will tune in. You got your Decisions blank sketch cover there. This was the Jonah Hex one. That was for
Mike
Nate,
in Colorado.
Mike, right. Who gets a bunch of your stuff. And now, was that the guy at Denver Comic-Con that bought all that stuff that time?
Yeah.
Really? Oh, wow.
Kind of been following me.
That's crazy. Actually, I'll pull that up. I was going through some old photos, and so we put this on the screen, do the share screen. Application, just trying to figure this out myself. Share. So this Batgirl or Batwoman that you did back in whenever it was is his collection?
Yeah, I think that's when I met him. I think I did that one, and there was a Mr. Miracle, I think. And that one. Yeah, I think you got all three of those in the same weekend.
Did you do a big Barda too, or was that for somebody else?
That was for him as well. Yeah.
That may have been a different trip. But yeah, I remember looking up what Big Barda looked like. So yeah.
Yeah, I think we're slowly working our way through the DC catalog of characters.
He did Enemy Ace last time too, right? That was obscure DC characters.
Yeah, we're kind of into the same era of DC, so his references kind of make sense to me, and vice versa.
Okay, all right. And so you're cranking out a Jonah Hex for him, classic Jonah Hex, I'm assuming.
Yeah. I have some old copies here.
Okay.
That I was going to use it for reference.
Now, are those from your personal collection, or?
Yeah.
Cool.
These
so
are from 82.
Oh, but did you get them back when we were at where were we at the Comic Geek Speak show when we were digging through all those back issue bins?
It could have been.
They had, it was I think they were like 25 cents, weren't they, or $4 for $1 or something?
Yeah, and they even had a trade bin where it was like take a comic, leave a comic.
That's right. I remember we bought a bunch of like the cheap 75-cent comics to take over to the swap and swapped out just garbage for some of the ones we wanted, which by other people's recollection would be garbage as well. So
right.
All right. So you're going to start working on that, and I guess we can talk about. Let me get this back off. Well, we do here. We can talk about how we met. I had just we met in 2009. It turned out I did some research. I had done Arthur the Legend Continues and released it at MegaCon in 2009, and we met at the FX show in 2009 as well, which is at the same convention center. Correct, or was it 2009 or 2010 when we met?
somewhere around there. I think I dated it based on the books that you had and the dates that were in the books.
Yeah. So to ours, well, I know we had Decisions come out in 2010, so it must have been 2009. I remember the big cosplay. The Octomom was walking around. If that dates it, that's, when that was a popular thing. The Octomom. I wonder what happened to all those 8 kids. Why they don't have a reality show, I don't know.
Oh, you're talking about John and K plus 8 or
no? Before, remember there was that lady who called herself the Octomom. She was a big thing, and there was a cosplayer walking around the show with 8 babies tied to herself and the big lips, and it was she was the cosplay of the day, if I'm not mistaken, at that show, because it was a viral thing, the popular thing of the day, you might say. And then we got together and we did the first Decisions book, which you illustrated, and your wife Robin did the lettering for, actually, which I had forgotten about until I opened up a copy. I'm like, hey, that's hand lettering.
Yeah.
And yeah. That's the only hand lettered book we got, but it definitely has an edge to it. Hand lettering, especially the way she did it, definitely gives it an edge.
We did it on tracing paper and then scanned that separately and then composited it together in the computer.
Okay. Cool. Yeah, it was. It's effective. It really is. And then we did the second Decisions, which I really enjoyed that one too. But one of the things I liked the most that we did was the third Decisions, because that was the one we co-wrote it. But you brought the story, and man, I still read that. I read that just the other day because I had to get some new copies printed, and that's a good story. I really, not to toot my own horn, but it's not my own horn; it's your horn as well. And with art by Hobbs. I really like that book. It's I think it's one of the best things we've done. For Cosmic Times as a whole. Obviously, it's not for everybody, but
yeah, I think I think Decisions on a whole, but especially that one is kind of challenging. And so it's if you're looking for a book that just kind of goes down easy and doesn't really leave an impression, it's not really the right book for that.
It definitely leaves an impression. I remember it left an impression on Hobbs when he was drawing it. We had some controversy on some stuff, but we all came to a compromise on particular sequences in the book, which that's the beauty of comics. Everybody gets to come together and try to formulate things and make things work the way what works best for the project, as we try to say a lot. One of my I'll bring it up in a bit, but one of my favorite things we did together, and it's so odd because it's the one thing we didn't do for Cosmic Times. I don't have a picture of it here, so I'll drop this. Was we did that book for Blue Water, the Bill Gates biography, and I really, for some reason, I really enjoyed doing that book. And to be honest, though we've never seen a dime for all the copies that Blue Water has sold, that's the one book that kind of keeps turning up. It's in schools, it's in libraries, of course, it's Comixology and all out there. So I keep coming across it. And I think the first time you and I came across it, it was on the Mile High wall before we even had a copy of it. The Mile High wall at Denver Comic-Con, Mile High Comics had a big wall, and they had it marked for like $20. And when we talked to the guy, we're like, hey, we did that book. Can we? And like, yeah, so what? But I for some reason I just like that book. I don't know, maybe it's because I'm in it. You drew me in it.
I was gonna say that might have something to do with it.
Yeah, but we're also all, if you remember, you, I, and James are in Decisions as well. The second issue, we're in the funeral sequence at the end.
Oh yeah,
you drew all 3 of us in there. Yeah, we're all, because that's what we do. We get together and hang out at funerals. That's wow, that's coming together so fast, man. Look at you. You're one of the fastest artists I know, and that's a great looking Jonah Hex.
Yeah, the face is kind of the iconic part. So once you nail that, that's kind of where everybody's eyes are going to go. The rest is just kind of filling in the idea, I guess.
He's kind of a melted Clint Eastwood.
Yeah, I think they've always kind of referenced him.
Do you remember the Hex series that followed that after Crisis, where he was in the post-apocalyptic future?
I mean, it sounds very much like the Marvel Knights Punisher relaunch, where they're just kind of, it's Jonah Hex, but and then just totally try and switch that part up. Yeah.
The one thing about the Hex, it only lasted like, I think 20 issues, was he actually found his body. It had been stuffed and put in a museum. So that was kind of a weird, Yeah, it was the 80s. It was weird. Have you checked out? There's a new book called Jenny Hex. I guess it's supposed to be his daughter. Have you checked that out?
I mean, I haven't seen it, but it sounds very much in line with kind of the idea of a lot of the new books as far as making it kind of a legacy character.
Yeah, she unfortunately they didn't go all in and melt her face. She's a young, of course, redhead cowboy, which seems to be the thing. Female redhead cowboys are just what you do. It's the go-to, I guess. But yeah, I thought it'd been nice if they melt her face, but I guess that's a bridge too far for DC.
Well, and it being an accident and stuff, it's like, how much can you do that before it seems like it's, I don't know, on purpose or not so much an accident anymore? Like, this is part of being the family.
Darling, I have to do this to you. Daddy, why? I would like to read that comic. Gosh, it's coming together so quick, man. You are a quick artist, and that takes me back to one of my favorite shows we did together. Was, I think I mentioned it before, was the Comic Geek Speak Super Show, and I don't have a picture of you. Did a great Boba Fett Snake Eyes mashup for somebody.
Oh yeah.
I ran across this great Green Arrow sketch you're doing. I guess somebody had to do it in their sketchbook. Great piece. Do you remember whose book that was? Was that anybody we know, or just a random dude?
Just a random person, but I got to see a lot of other people's interpretations, and that's really cool when somebody has kind of a themed sketchbook that they want you to do.
Oh, it was all Green Arrow, huh?
I think it was all like DC characters. I think I did a Mirror Master also, and so you're looking through the book and trying to make sure that yours is different than everybody else's, and it doesn't look like what somebody else has done, but also, oh, I see what you did there. I think I'll take that like an extra step in this direction or something, come up with a different concept.
Now, as an artist, when you're doing these sketchbooks, is it a pressure to try to level up to be on par with everyone else, or?
A little bit. It's more that you want yours to kind of stand out and not blend in, I guess, and so that's why you're trying to make sure that it doesn't just look like a copy of somebody else's. Like what's the thing that makes yours different?
Well, that was a great show. I remember, like I said, I think it was a pre-commission before the show. Somebody commissioned you to do that Snake Eyes Boba Fett mashup, which it was a fun concept then. But the way comics are nowadays, I could actually see that happening. The way they keep crisscrossing continuities and whatnot. I think that was just going through the bins. James was doing a commission. It was a guy on a toilet. Again, the weird commissions people ask for. I
think we got one from the same person. I think it was Spider Jericho.
Okay.
Transmet.
Yeah, I remember it was because I didn't know anything about the book at the time. I remember it was Transmetropolitan. Yeah, because you guys were educating me about that. That's the fun thing about these shows. You learn about things. Obviously the internet has changed a lot now, but you still always find and learn about the new things at the shows. I know that was an odd commission because it's a dude on a toilet, but I think that was James's decision to put him on his toilet. What's the weirdest commission you've ever been requested to do?
We've had requests through the Kickstarter for ones that weren't successful that you had to kind of maybe put some more stipulations into.
Yeah, I think that we added the stipulations after it was the trade paperback one. We're like, no, it's got to be very.
Like left it too open.
But have you ever had to draw something just besides my comics? Ever had to draw something you just felt uncomfortable about drawing, or you just passed?
It's not something I really thought about until I kind of was talking with Watts, and he's had a couple of situations where he's had arguments with editors over, at least not overtly showing something that you can get the idea across without, like shoving it in their face. And I think it's more that they would stipulate, like we need to see this like full front and center, and especially when it comes to stuff with kids, that both of us being parents is particularly uncomfortable, I guess.
Yeah, well, luckily, I think we discovered it was good that he jumped on Robin Hood with issue 2 as opposed to issue 1, because there were some awkward moments in that first issue of Robin Hood.
Yeah, that series ran long enough that it kind of grew and changed the way that like a TV show does over certain seasons, that they kind of figure out what their audience wants and kind of what they're interested in long term, and some of the other stuff falls away that maybe they thought at the beginning, was going to pull people in or push them away.
Well, I obviously have they ever gone back and changed that first issue, or is it still kind of what it was?
I have no idea. They're an interesting company because they put so much stuff out so quickly, but then also kind of follow up on trade paperbacks. So I don't know, but it's very much a volume kind of I don't know, that plan as far as the company goes, that if you're not exactly into this thing, there's a slight variation in this totally other title, that might be up your alley.
That's Zenescope we're talking about. They've always been cool to me. What else we got here from? That was when James found love at the Comic Geek Speak Super Show. That was a fun time. And there we go. That's when we finally met Peter Rios, who's been a great friend of Cosmic Times ever since then. The Rios, you might say. That was like I said, I really enjoyed that trip. Obviously, what was it? Philadelphia? Is that where it was? I think. Yeah. But it was a fun trip. I thoroughly enjoyed it. And of course, we did Denver Comic Con multiple times. You've done it, I think, 3 times. We did it together twice. Mm-hmm. Remember when Axe Cop was a thing? That kind of came in. They even
had a TV. They had a cartoon for a while.
Yeah, and now it's just kind of gone from comics and TV and just the popular culture in general.
Well, I mean, kind of think about the novelty at the time and kind of how that's become kind of very mainstream. I guess kind of the oddness of it seems pretty tame. With each year that goes by, everybody kind of pushes the boundaries, and then the boundaries get kind of, all the weird gets kind of normal. So the weird get weirder.
Yeah, if I say Axe Cop now, they're like, yes, so what? But I think the kick wasn't it? Is the guy's kid brother that came up with the story ideas,
right?
And, that was kind of cool. You finally got to meet Snake Eyes and I remember there was this great event at the Hard Rock in downtown Denver. By the way, beautiful city. Except for the hobos, but a beautiful city anyways. My complaints on that. But you did this live sketch of Black Cat, mm-hmm. which I think went for auction. Yeah, it went for auction, and it was for charity, I believe. It was the guys from H2 Awesome who were running the event, and we got to hang out with Rios at that event too, if I'm not mistaken. But yeah, that's. Do you feel pressure when you have? Obviously, you're doing it on video now, drawing in front of people as opposed to being in the comfort of your own home.
I mean, there's also a difference too, whether you're standing up, and a lot of it changes as far as your arm and your perspective to it. So kind of your whole body changes. Also, drawing that large, I think that was like 18 by 24.
Yeah, it was pretty big.
It's like, at least double this size as far as the head, would be about the size of a watermelon. So that makes a big difference.
Yeah. But do you feel pressure? I mean, is it easier to draw? I mean, no matter what, this is in front of people versus, do you feel pressure at all, or as an artist, it doesn't bother you?
Not really. I would say, I think for a lot of artists, it's kind of the reverse, that when you're not drawing, I think you're more uncomfortable. And, so I think that's kind of been the growing arc, I guess, for me as a person, is getting used to yourself when you're not in an artist persona, I guess.
Oh, okay, interesting. What else do we have here? I pulled a bunch of pictures from. Yeah, those are the commissions you did, and you cranked those out pretty quick too. I think you did 2 or 3 in a day for the same dude. I think this also started the tradition. Started it because the General Lee was there. That you won't see that at shows anymore. But I think I started the tradition of me trying to take awkward cosplay photos with you. Whatever. I remember we were like, "Hey, come on, get in with Catwoman." You're like, "I don't think so." And I made you guys get together. So that's kind of. And then there was the time. There was
monotony, right?
Yeah. Well, I love the awkward cosplay photos, like this one with the Goblin King, where he was packing and he wanted to let people know about it. So, yeah, it's just how I roll. Then we went to New York. That was a good show too. Would you ever? Obviously, no time in the near future. what was your favorite convention you've ever been to?
I got to meet a lot of people at that Comic Geek show. And there wasn't that many people, I guess, maybe the first day or something. I think it was like maybe they were open on like a Thursday. And so people weren't off work yet. And so I got to walk around and talk to a lot of kind of heroes and people that I wanted to, I'd never met and got to see, and got to see a bunch of strange stuff for sale that I had never ever seen in my life. So it was really eye opening. Okay. And that was probably my favorite. There's been other shows that people have been so busy that you'll go and talk to them and try and, get a second to talk to somebody you've literally come to the convention to meet, and they just kind of blow you off because they need to, they're there to work, not necessarily socialize.
And that would be shows like New York and whatnot.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, you did. I remember you and James came to Heroes Con one time. You only stayed for like a day or something. I tell everybody who's in comics to do Heroes Con. It's to me it's the comic person show, because everybody's there. It's the after parties or the quote unquote bar con is where it's at. So that's kind of the one I always go to. But the CGS Super Show, that was a time that I don't think we can recreate again. It was just before social media kind of exploded and became a thing, and it was all kind of message board driven. If you remember, it was the CGS message boards, and everybody would kind of communicate there, and we would plan to meet. And it kind of had this whole community vibe to it, which was led by Brian Murd and of course Jamie D, who's since passed, and all those guys. I don't know that we'll see that experience again on a show like that, which was everybody was just there for the show, and because I don't know, everything's so convoluted and so busy these days. I just don't. I hope that we'll see shows like that again. But that was like you said, a very rare experience as far as my Comic-Con experience goes.
Yeah, I hadn't been to maybe one or two conventions before the one I met you at, but you look back at some of the first comic book conventions with Jack Kirby and people like that, and it really just looks like a line of people at a hotel, walking up and meeting these people within a foot of them, or going around behind the table to take a picture with them. And it just seems so kind of humble by comparison, where now it's like you need to schedule all of your time. You need to know where you're going to be when. The different people are going to be leaving the table and coming back because they need to do panels, and it's very overwhelming for somebody to kind of break into, much like podcasting is now, where at the time it was, you could only choose from maybe 10 or 12 of something that you liked, and now there's a couple hundred, and it's kind of overwhelming to get started in. I
agree. And different. Hey, by the way, Ryan Miller says hi. Hi, Ryan.
All right.
I'm sure he's excited. There's a new Beast Wars comic coming out from IDW, and that's right up his alley because he's the Beast Wars guy. Yeah, what you were talking about podcasts too. I remember back when we first started doing all this, Comic Geek Speak was the de facto comic book podcast, and there were, of course, there was Word Balloon and there were others, but there wasn't so much noise, like you were saying, and that it's just trying to filter out the good ones from the bad ones, and trying to find one that speaks to you. Now it's a little more difficult. Where back in the day, Comic Geek Speak kind of just covered everybody. Everything almost has its own, its own vibe to it now. So yeah, there isn't that just go-to podcast anymore.
It's strange because it's kind of like the podcasts are so specific that you kind of have to have a taste for that specific flavor. But on the other hand, the conventions are so kind of like throw everything at the wall, that comics is movies, is video games, is tabletop gaming. And so it's kind of, you get such a mixed crowd, you don't really know who's walking up to your table or why they're there specifically. It's not as concentrated as it was, I guess.
And I mean, I don't mind it, but the growth of cosplay, of course, that we've kind of watched happen over the years. Like, we said that scene from the Comic Geek Speak show. She was like the only one there. She made the costume at the show. Now it's you're talking a third of your attendees are there for the costume contest, or are dressed in costume, or are about the costumes and taking photographs, as opposed to finding new comics, finding new content, and things like that. I'm not dissing it by any stretch of the imagination. It's just, it's different. And by the way, Ryan says your cover's looking great.
Nice. Thanks, Ryan.
The,
He's got a Transformers art book that I think he's working on.
awesome.
And so he's been cranking away at it and is getting going on that. I think he's got a Kickstarter going.
Well, I've seen his. Oh, he's got one going. We got to back that, support that. Because I love Transformers. Actually, I showed my daughter Transformers the movie last night for the first time.
The Michael Bay one, or like the animated one?
No, the good one, the 1986 one. She wasn't a fan. I don't know, she just kind of like zoned out on it. I don't understand why. And watching it again now, I haven't seen it since in about 10, maybe 7 or 8 years. And watching it again, there's nothing that lasts more than 3 minutes in that movie. That movie is just, it's constantly moving on to the next thing. And it's, to me, that would speak to the current generation of kids, that they're like, hey, keep it going, keep it going, keep it going. Like everything is one song long, I find, in that movie. Everything takes about, like, say, 3 minutes. After that song, the scene changes to something else. And I thought she liked it.
Wasn't that movie basically like Crisis on Infinite Earths for Transformers, that there was a lot to do practically on top of trying to tell a story, where they were trying to clear out the cast for kind of the next ones to move in?
Yeah, I wish it was a little as artistic as Crisis. It was more the toy company, like, hey, get rid of the old characters so we can sell the new characters. Of course, that ended up backfiring on them, but and causing the movie not to be as successful as they thought it would have been. Because it was the first act leads up to the death of, spoiler for a movie that's 40 years old, to the death of Optimus Prime, and that's the whole first act, is just clearing house. And then after that, it's all about these new characters that they introduced in the movie. From a storytelling point of view, it works. But from a marketing point of view, obviously, you can definitely see what they were doing, because they make a point to give each new toy, or each new character, not new toy, a certain amount of screen time to set them up. But I enjoy it. It's from my childhood. It's from it was right at that point where you're grown out of things, and it just came at the right time for me. I guess, and of course the animation, though at the time was like super sophisticated by today's standards, I guess. Maddie, my daughter, wasn't impressed. Let's just say with that. She's like, this looks like She-Ra animation. I'm like, you shut up now. Get out of the house. Ryan says it's not going to be a Kickstarter. He's just selling, I guess he's selling the individual pieces through DMs, or maybe the book. But I know he's doing a great job. He's painting, I think, all of the Beast War characters.
Yeah, I mean, just like animation, painting it and trying to get a kind of a solid 3-dimensional thing to act and do what you want to do, and still make it look like it's made out of metal, but still emote and tell a story, and do what you want. It's like, I don't know. I can't wrap my head around it. That's why he's kind of been the guy for that, and why he helped us out on the cover for one of the books that we had with a robot on the front.
Yeah.
Because it's hard for me to, as an artist, kind of wrap my head around and understand that it's a body, but it needs to still follow the shapes. So I don't know. I approach it so much more organically that it's hard for me to kind of turn around and then box it into kind of metal that can't change shape, I guess.
It's living metal. All right, so let's see. What else we talk about. I know you said your boy's reading some classic Fantastic Four and classic Marvel comics. Did you ever get him to check out Secret Wars?
Not Secret Wars yet. He fell off of the was it Jason Aaron Fantastic Four run, about where you said that he. Is it getting kind of boring and convoluted after like the 3rd volume or so? But the first 2 he was on. I think like Reed Richards and all these different guys got the Thanos glove with the stones in it or something.
Sure.
He just has kind of the iconography of Infinity War and stuff in his head, and from posters and the movies, but without actually having seen it. And so that was like the fulfillment of what he wanted. get out of that stuff, but couldn't. But he went wild for that. Right now, he's kind of into the original Runaways comic.
Really? I don't think I've ever really dug into them. They didn't seem that exciting when I was thumbing through them back in the day. They kind of just, but that's his jam. I mean, have you read them? Are they a little talky? Seemed a little bit talking heads when I was thumbing through them.
They, I mean, they are kind of like teen drama, kind of CW-ish for comics, but they burn through story really, really quickly. And so that first season of the show that they adapted is like just a couple issues of the comic, because so much is happening constantly. The writer was saying because they felt like they were going to get canceled, the next month. And so they wanted to fit in all these ideas that they had, and were, constantly on the border between not getting a chance to. And so each new month that they got a chance to keep the series going was like, oh, well, now we spent it that last month. We have to come up with something new to keep, stuff moving ahead. But it just sounds like a really crazy kind of production to feel like you're always on the cutting block, and then get that relief the next month that you're, oh, another miracle. We're going to keep going. We thought we'd be gone, but we're still here.
I think Ryan said, yes, CW for comics. It's a nice tagline. I don't know. I'm not a big. I tried to get into that whole, because when they announced that Crisis thing, because Crisis is my favorite comic of all time. I tried to get into the whole Arrow Flash universe. I just couldn't. I just don't think it's written for people like me or my age. I just couldn't. I tried to watch Supergirl. I just couldn't get into those CW DC shows. Did you watch any of them?
I've seen a couple episodes of Arrow when that started up. My younger brother, that was hit him kind of right at the right time for him. But it's kind of like 90s and 80s kind of sitcoms and things where you can tell there's a theme to the episode, or maybe Quantum Leap would be up your alley. There's a theme to the episode. You can tell that they had a limited amount to shoot and kind of blow the budget on that specific thing, and then the rest they kind of need to stick to talking heads and avoid the expensive stuff, so the characters' conversations drag on, and there's a lot of kind of filler to what you're actually looking for, I guess.
Yeah, I'll say that. And I also felt the dialogue, it was especially with the Supergirl show. The Flash was all right, but the Supergirl show, it was written for people that are just learning English. So they're not going to use too many big words. It's not, we don't want to confuse the viewer with long sentences and things like that. And I felt I was being talked down to a little bit with it, especially with Supergirl. Not so much Flash, but Supergirl, I felt like, what? I think the audience is a little smarter than this.
Yeah,
that was my take.
I suppose it depends on when it airs and kind of who they're aiming for. Marvel being in theaters and having a rating to it, I think they can. I mean, like I said, obviously my son is very interested in the Marvel movies, though he hasn't seen them. He's just permeated with ads and Disney Plus and that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
But I think having been on TV, anybody could turn that on, and I think they're hoping that, almost like Stanley, like whatever episode could be your first episode, and get you going without too steep of an entry ramp into the series, I guess.
Stanley was always one to try to put the bigger word, to try to expand your vocabulary a bit. But like I said, I just couldn't get it. Ryan said he stuck with Flash for 3 seasons, but then life gets in the way. And that's the thing too. Life, I dedicate myself to comics, and of course we both have families, which is time consuming unto itself. But people keep recommending TV shows for me to watch, and I'm like, if I had time, I would, but it's just I just don't make a lot of time to watch much TV these days. I mean, of course, Mandalorian was a must. But outside of that, I'm paying for the CBS app, and I don't think I've turned it on in like 6 months. I need to get rid of it because I wanted to check out that Picard show, and I don't know. I just don't have time to watch TV. I'm making comics. We're raising kids. That eats your time. I'll tell you that much. Taking care of a family, keeping the wife happy. Those are all things that require time that don't afford for video games and TV shows.
have you found yourself different, kind of during this pandemic stuff? Like, the struggle for me has kind of been that my brain feels like I need to be productive, but then you're kind of so existentially stressed out that when you go to do those kind of things, I don't actually get very far in them. It's more like the routine part of me wants to do that, but then the energy for the follow through on that, isn't really there right now. And so I kind of, it's almost like a learning process where I need to figure out what I can actually handle versus what what I'm comfortable with and what I'm used to, because all that's kind of adjusting and adapting right now.
Yeah, in the beginning there was a lot of fluctuation with this because only the last couple weeks, and then just now it's like, well, this is how life is for the time being. I find myself, it goes in spurts. Like sometimes like a whole week, and I'm like, I am the most productive guy, and I'm soaring, and then there'll be moments where I'm not productive, and then I get angry at myself and I feel depressed because I'm not being productive, and it becomes this kind of self-fulfilling prophecy almost of me being upset for not being as productive as I could be, and then being upset at myself means I'm less productive than I should be. So that's kind of this kind of yin yang I've been dealing with. Pushing through it is key, obviously. I tell you, it's enabled me. The pandemic has. Are we allowed to say pandemic? I don't know. Sometimes things get blocked if you talk about it. I found that I was able to. I'm doing better in it than I was before it, but I don't think it's because of it per se. I think it's just I've had more time with my own thoughts. Sure. And to reevaluate things a lot. That this pandemic has caused a lot of reevaluation. So in some respects, obviously, the lack of comic conventions is hurting what we're looking to do here. But the solitude and the time alone also affords me the ability to think. And we've been. I mean, things are kind of getting on track for the first time in years. Where we just wrapping up this first new volume of Decisions in years. I think when you and Dorman finish these sketch covers, that's it. We're done. That's the last that needs to be done for this project, and then we're on to the next one, which is for me, or for Cosmic Times in general. We're going to be doing the Deep Space Tragedy Collector's Box. This is something that Kevin Laporte from Inverse Press suggested, and it made a lot of sense. He's like, because we were talking about how I have so much stock of the first 3 issues of Deep Space Tragedy that we printed, and I don't just want to go to Kickstarter and try to say, hey, buy my old books. So he came up with the idea of this collector's box where it'll be in this special. He does it with his books. It does well, and we've did a low print run of issue 4 the first time, so not many people have it. We've never printed the Transformers variant of issue 4. So with this, we're able to kind of recycle and bring this project that's kind of been dead for a while, not dead per se, but hasn't had much activity, back to the forefront. And since Kickstarter, thanks, Ryan. Since Kickstarter has enabled us to kind of find a new audience, new people have discovered Cosmic Times. So this is our chance to kind of put these books into people's hands that didn't get them the first time. So we're launching that in a couple of days, January 12th. We're putting that together, and so that's these are things that I probably wouldn't have done if the pandemic hadn't set in. Also, doing the Kickstarter has it's opened up all these new communities that. We always had our Comic-Con community. We go to a show and there'd be all our friends. We'd see them. We'd reconnect again. But this Kickstarter with social media and everybody being at home has kind of formed this support group in this committee this community that I don't know. I've kind of grown fond of, and I'm growing attached to. So that's another thing that kind of good that came out of the committee, and then or not the committee. Speaking about bad vocabulary, yeah, but it's a community. But following this, hopefully in March on Kickstarter, we're finally going to bring out this book that you and I have been working on for, I want to say 4 or 5. By the time it comes out, about 5 years. we were talking one day, and I'm like, hey, we need new ideas. What's a new idea? And you're like, you want to mash up things, mix things, mash things up. And we talked about it, and then you're like, what about dinosaurs and cowboys? And my head exploded. And we came up with this concept of dinosaurs as being the beast of burden in the Old West, as opposed to horses, and instead of Native Americans or Indians, it's cavemen who fill that role in our narrative. I think we were both inspired by. It's an odd mix. I think this book was somewhat inspired by. Well, I know it was Pete's Dragon, the original '70s Pete's Dragon, and a lot of talk about Disney's Lone Ranger. Not a very popular movie, but I think it enabled us to try to kind of find this narrative where it's the father telling the son the story. Because if you watch Lone Ranger, it's Tonto. He tells the whole story. So whatever happens, did it happen? Did it not happen? We don't know. This is just Johnny Depp's Tonto telling the story. So that enabled us to create this kind of alternate Wild West where it's a father who's an archaeologist telling his son about cowboys and dinosaurs. And I think it's a great book. It's a family friendly. I like to think that a lot of our books are like Pixar films, and that the kids like them, and so do the adults. It isn't like if you watch some of those Land Before Time films, as an adult, it's kind of hard to swallow that stuff. But if you look at the like a Pixar film and what they do there, it's for everybody. And to me, all ages should be that. A lot of comics that are all ages are targeted toward kids. To me, all ages means I can enjoy it, my kid can enjoy it, my grandfather can enjoy it. And that's, to me, what all ages should be, in my opinion.
Yeah, it's interesting, kind of the genesis of some of these books, where some is just an idea that you can't, kind of leave alone, and some of them is kind of from the concept angle of thinking about the audience and what's interesting enough as a we were talking about kind of as a pitch or a single sentence, how you can kind of encapsulate that. And we've had some difficulty with some of the books being kind of so difficult to even find kind of a touchstone for someone to relate to what it is, to be able to tell them quick enough before they walk past the table, what the idea is, without giving away some sort of twist that you need as a surprise. That it's been difficult. So I think we almost worked backwards from this one. Is kind of like, how would you pack this into like a sentence, and then being able to try and make sure that we actually fulfill on what the expectations of that means to somebody who hears that concept and is like, well, that could be cool, but then you actually have to deliver on that. And so then that was kind of the second half of it.
Oh, I think we definitely delivered. Again, I think this book looks great, much to your credit. But back to that tagline or pitch, I know that obviously the first book did was Arthur the Legend Continues, and it was easy just to say King Arthur returns to a post-apocalyptic England. One sentence to get it out there: deep space tragedy, teenage robot rock band on the run. And then when you go to talk about decisions, what's Decisions about? It's Quantum Leap meets Highway to Heaven, and you're talking to somebody who's 22 and has no clue what either of those shows are. It becomes a harder pitch, and I thought that was just for conventions, but it turns out with Kickstarter it's the same thing. That was a hard book to fund on Kickstarter, where From Blood, a superpowered mental patient, there we go, was an easier sell, I think, than say Decisions. And I think Dinosaurs and Cowboys, it's right there. Old West, Dinosaurs of the Beast of Burden, story about family. It's all there. It's ironically looking at this page. It's inspired by Lone Ranger, Pete's Dragon, and also Treasure Island or Treasure Planet. And that we kind of do the whole scene with the mother and the son and the owning a hotel at the beginning of the story. But or like the Binbo Inn. But we'll get to that when the book comes out. We don't want to spoil too much of it right now because that's still a bit away. But that comes up to something I want to talk about too. Probably should talk about this off air, but I'll talk about it here. Trying to find an identity for what Cosmic Times is has been difficult especially in the last couple of years. And I was looking at our friendly competitor here in Florida, Scout Comics, and they're picking up everybody's book. If you got a book, they'll pick it up.
Yeah, I have a couple of their stuff. I didn't know they were Florida based, but I do have a few of their books.
Yeah, they're here. They're actually they're right next to my printer in Fort Myers.
They pick up a bunch of web comics too, and then kind of like I have one that was a black and white web comic, and so if you want to read it, you can read it, but they offer the colored version in trade paperback, and so if you've gotten used to it in color, it's kind of hard to pick the free alternative, and so that's the difference that kind of hooks you into getting the books.
Yeah, they also pick up a lot of Kickstarters too.
Right.
Like I think they just kind of surf Kickstarter, and if one's really successful, they contact the creator. I have my own gripes, and there's a book that I backed almost 2 years ago that was picked up by Scout, and I haven't got my book yet. So I was like, how can they pick up a book that isn't even finished? But I digress. The thing with Scout that I admire is their ability to get books out in a timely fashion, lots of books, because they pick up books that are already finished before they even solicit them. But I don't think Scout has an identity per se. Like when you think of what is a Scout comic, well, it's this. So I think going forward, again, part of this sitting at home evaluating things, I really want to focus on getting an identity for Cosmic Times. Have a couple tentpole projects that will run through Kickstarter and then put in comic shops that are make up the cornerstone of Cosmic Times. I thought Decisions was going to be one of them, but I just don't know that it's that marketable of a book. I love it. I love making them, but it's hard to sell that one.
And that's where you kind of get in the chicken and the egg thing is since we've already started making books, are we making books for the people that already know about us? That like Marvel falls into this pickle a lot, right? Where are you alienating the fans you already have? Are you opening yourself up to new fans that you wouldn't if you stick with what you have? Which way's the right way, and can you split the middle without alienating both? Is I think something a lot of companies are trying to figure out if they can handle and how to navigate that, I guess, right now, or every 3 years or so for the big guys.
Reboot City. I see what you're saying. I think I'd say the new Cosmic Times where we've kind of got this Kickstarter model going. I think we had momentum with From Blood. From Blood was an exciting series. It was every Kickstarter was doing better than the one before. Maybe it's time to do From Blood issue 4. I don't know, and just to keep the people that like that book happy. But I think there's From Blood's a more mature comic, and I like to drift more to something everybody can read, not necessarily again kid comics or even quote unquote all ages comics. Maybe that kind of that teen demographic, not them particularly, but something that kind of targets that and goes from there. More widely readable. You can give it to your kids and you can give it to your pop, like I was saying before. Or From Blood, there's some stuff in there you don't want to give to the kids. Right. And Decisions, just keep that away from the kids altogether. Hide it, put it with the Playboys under the bed or something. At one
point, it was kind of like, as far as independent publishers go, that you'd, at least for a convention, you wanted something on the table that something for everybody. That it was kind of like a smorgasbord of genres and of age groups, and so that they couldn't, really walk away without something that they would enjoy.
That's true.
I have the book for you. And so as you develop an identity, you also kind of, I don't know, kind of develop opinions, or people are able to develop opinions of a company that I love what they do, and they stick to that, and that's where I go for that thing. Almost more like mom and pop shops or something like that, where they do that thing really, really good, and when I feel like I want that thing, that's where I go. Versus kind of like the big box store or something, where we have one of everything that you're looking for, and it might not be exactly what you want, but we basically do that.
There you go. I mean, this is a reference. So I don't think, does Sharper Image even exist anymore? Those stores. Remember Sharper Image? It was a store in the mall. They had all the cool tech stuff. Or let's do this. It's the Apple Store versus, say, Target, where you go to the Apple Store. They have Apple products. Everything looks the same. It feels the same. It all fits in that family. They sell Apple products at Target, but they also sell, bath bombs and towels. So I think I want to be drifting more into the Apple Store mode, where I don't want to not do like Decisions is kind of a passion project for me. Whenever the mood strikes, you might say. But I think I want to do, like, say, with Good and the Bad and the Prehistoric. I kind of want those kind of projects to be more what we do, more exciting, fun projects that can attract a decent an audience without having to be, I don't this kind of scattershot where I want to try to put everything out that might appeal to the widest audience, where I can just try to find my audience and always be there with new product that appeals to them. And then slowly over time grow the audience. That's why I think we talked about it when we were and I was in Bureau and we had the chit chat. There's after Good and the Bad and the Prehistoric, I have another book I'm working on called Star Raisers, which again fits a similar. It's more action based sci-fi stuff, but fits a similar mold as the Good and the Bad and the Prehistoric, where you can read it and again you can share it with everybody. There's no blood and guts. Nobody's head gets ripped off and blood sprays everywhere. There's no, violent acts of personal invasion like there are in Decisions. Ryan, the only problem we have loaded, we actually have the whole first issue done as far as art, Ryan, for Good, the Bad, and the Prehistoric. This is the only promo image we're showing right now. It has a very animation style to it. The way it looks almost as if these were screen caps from an animated film. So it's called The Good, the Bad, and the Prehistoric. It's going to be a March book. We're putting out in March, so hopefully people get on board with it. That'll be right after the Deep Space Tragedy Kickstarter ends. It'll be all we're going to talk about for 2 months will be Good, the Bad, and the Prehistoric. Thanks, man. Ryan says it looks great. It's a book that I thought was never going to happen, and it was like a miracle when Zach said, "Here's the whole thing finished." And I think I texted you and said I think I got emotional over it, actually seeing it complete, because I love the book, I love the story. To what we were talking about before about the vision for Cosmic Times, and where I think we want to go with it, goes back to the Pete's Dragon. Like we're talking about Pete's Dragon a little bit. The Disney in the 1970s, like the late 70s of Disney, is kind of the model I want to look at, where they were putting out everything kind of fit within that Disney brand, but they stretched it a little bit with movies like Black Hole and Midnight Express and things like that. So, but everything they did was done in-house. It wasn't like Disney now, where like, hey, we want to do superhero movies. Well, let's buy Marvel. Let's do sci-fi movies. Well, let's buy Star Wars. Instead of being more creative. I want to see us, me, Zach, Mike Wagner, everybody involved, and other people that might want to join up, being creative and creating new concepts. And instead of just picking up somebody, wait, this is a different piece. What are you working on, Zach?
I got warmed up enough to feel like I could do Spider-Man. He's got kind of stretchy anatomy that I didn't want to do it cold off the bat.
All right, yeah, this is Spider-Man 2099. This one's for Nate.
Yeah,
we're running long, so we're probably not going to see this one get wrapped up. But that's great. Those are the two covers we need. We had a sketch cover option on Decisions, where people could buy a sketch cover from Mike, a sketch cover from Michael, or a sketch cover from Michael Dorman, or a sketch cover from Zach. Nate was we had one tier where you can get one of each. And Nate was the guy that came in and took care of it. Nate's what we might call a Cosmic Times super fan. He came to one of our comic shop signings, and I'm like, Nate, I think you have everything we own. We're putting out at this point. There was nothing for him to buy because he had by backing our Kickstarters, he kind of had everything. So Nate's one of those fans we want to keep appealing to with new and exciting projects. We need about 1,000 more Nates. If we get a couple more of those guys, we'll be doing great. But so Nate he backed some of the he bought some of the original art from Blood. I think he bought one of the cover. No, we got the cover. Heidi actually the From Blood cover for issue 1. That the sketch is hanging in my office now. Heidi bought it from the Kickstarter, then gave it to me for my birthday.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, and I'm glad, because I love it. I love it. I got a piece of Zach. I have 2 pieces of Zach original art. I have that, and you once did a piece. I don't have it with me. I would love to show it. Maybe I'll put it online one day, where you drew me, you, Robin, and my mom at a booth at a con. Do you remember this?
Yeah, it was kind of the Cosmic Times universe at the time.
Yeah. I think Arthur and the female guy from Decisions and somebody from Sold were all kind of hanging out at the booth, and and of course you have to draw my mom like a crazy person. Let me tell you about, you want the artist to sign it, which is how it used to be. I mean, she used to come to the shows, and if anybody was the biggest fan of Cosmic Times, it was definitely her, who I hope is watching this right now, but I don't think technology like this appeals to her. She has Facebook. She has Facebook and puts crazy stuff on Facebook all the time, but refuses to use Facebook Messenger, so no one can actually message her through Facebook. So it's she's an odd one, as is the way with parents. So anything else we need to talk about? Heidi just jumped in and said she can't wait for Dinos and Cowboys. Yes, Good, the Bad, and the Prehistoric. And in the shower the other day, I was trying to come up with ideas for sequels, like A Fistful of Dinos, and Brontosaurus I'm High, and things like that. Of off the old Clint Eastwood movies. Trying to come up with more dinosaur puns to play with. Yeah, it will be a Kickstarter, Ryan. It'll be a Kickstarter right after we wrap. What is it called? Deep Space Tragedy. We're going to start talking about it, and in March, I'm hoping to launch a Kickstarter for The Good, the Bad, and the Prehistoric. We're going to pay to get it printed, ship it out, pay off some debt we have on the first issue, and then get the second and third issue done, and hopefully get that in the comic stores, if not before the end of 2021, by 2022. Jack Kirby willing. Anything else you want to talk about, Zach?
No, when you were saying that the title thing being kind of an homage, I feel like that's kind of where it's at, I guess, as far as trying to encapsulate an idea for somebody, that especially if you can do it in the title, like give them a little bit of something they know, and then also tell them why yours is different. Then you've kind of nailed exactly what you're aiming for, is giving them a reference point that they can understand, and then also say why this is not exactly what they've had before.
Yeah, I think we talked about calling it just Cowboys and Dinosaurs, but I think the movie Cowboys and Aliens was out at that time, and we're like, we don't want to do that. So we can't. I don't know which one of us, but somebody came up with the clever title of The Good, the Bad, and the Prehistoric, and it was like, that's it. That's what it's called, and it's a long title.
Yes,
it's a good chunk of the cover, but it definitely, like you say, Good, the Bad, and the Ugly is like the quintessential cowboy film. Switch out ugly with prehistoric, and they know exactly what it is. It's a quintessential cowboy story with dinosaurs.
So just saying the title saves you the pitch.
True. Yeah, maybe we should title all our books like that. What would we retitle Decisions? Bad times, bad times.
Yeah.
So it looks like you're going to have these done before the end of today, I guess, because you're just hammering through them, man.
Yeah, I think I'm kind of like a car. I think once you get warmed up, it's kind of exponential as far as the amount of speed. But having a family, that's the thing, is that once you get it broken into chunks, each time you're trying to kind of warm up, and by the time you get warmed up, that's when you have to stop. And so it's just like a Rolls Canardly or something, like you barely get going, and then you just sputter out, and you can't really get that momentum that you would be able to get if you were able to put 4 or 5 hours into something.
Sure.
And really just be flying by the time you're done.
It's the same way with writing. When you sit down to write, you start, and it just takes a while to get up to speed, but the moment you get up to speed, then it starts rolling. You've written things, and it gets going, but then, like you say, luncheon's ready.
Yeah.
And like now, and then next time you have to get back up to speed again when you start it. But no, I think these covers look great. That Jonah Hex cover looked amazing. And now we got Spider-Man 2099 on the way. And and the funny thing, like I said, Nate requested Spider-Man 2099 from you, and Miles Morales Spider-Man from Dorman. So nice. So he's getting a Spider-Man collection going. So yeah, so that's we'll just wrap it up now. Let's see. I said I'm Martin Pierro, publisher for Cosmic Times. That's Zach Bassett, artist, creative director for Cosmic Times. You can find out about us at cosmictimes.net. Our new Kickstarter. Go to cosmictimes.net/Deep Space Tragedy. You'll find out all about that. I didn't mention it this time, but I'll mention it next time. I do a show here in Palm Beach County called PalmCon after a 4-year hiatus. We're back on, or actually it'll be 5 years by the time we do it. We're back on track for our 10th anniversary show. It's going to be, when is it going to be? It's going to be October 2nd, 2021 at the American Polish Club. So make sure you check out pomcon.net. Follow us on all of our social medias. And who knows, maybe we'll do some. Do you like the blue line blank sketch covers, or would you rather them have the colored logo on it? Or does it matter to you?
You're talking about this part, the logo?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think the blue helps it kind of fade away for me. It feels like the blue line on regular pages.
That's what I was kind of going for. And I figure we'll do the blue lines as limited, and if there's a need for more sketch covers, we'll do them. We'll do them the normal way. And we'll probably do some sketch covers for the Good and the Bad and the Prehistoric, which will be launching hopefully in March. And maybe Zach will return and do some sketch covers on those as well. Maybe we'll even convince Ryan Miller, who's a great dinosaur artist, to do a sketch cover or two for us. Yeah. Who knows? We'll talk about that off air. What am I doing? I shouldn't be talking about that on air. But anyway, so Zach's not really active on the social medias these days, but if you go to cosmictimes.net on our website, there is a link to all of his social media under the teams tab. So if he ever wants to blog again or whatever, it's all there. But trust me, when Zach said he hasn't been on social media in a while, I'm like, you're a much happier person than probably most. Because I say people who spend, the more time you spend on social media, the more miserable life seems. So you're probably, like I say, much happier than most of the people in my circle. But I think we'll wrap it up with that, Zach. Thank you so much for doing this. And we'll catch up with you later, man. Thank you.
Take care.
Take care, Zach. Bye. And broadcast.